Good evening, folks. This is Longshot 1982 here with my part 3 of my comic book collection series. We're going to start off today by introducing my two special guests here. They decided to keep themselves at bay and to put their rivalry aside, keep their differences aside, to do this comic book review for me without destroying any buildings. So we have The Thing and Brother Hulk today. Our first comic book that we're going to review is a worthless one. In the Thing first #1 collector's item issue. Usually anytime during the especially 80s and 90s when they had a collector's item special edition, it usually just meant that it was overprinted and worthless for people like when they're kids to think that someday it's going to be worth money. I actually like the book, so I read it, a few times. It's a good book. Just not worth jack shit. That's the first book. Next book on the agenda is X-Men number 244. This is the very first appearance of Jubilee. Jubilee, her powers are to emit pyrotechnics from her hands. She's the youngest of the group. She's kind of, little naive character. She's in the 90s Marvel comic book cartoon series from 94, 95, which brought her to light. But this is her first appearance. The next is the first appearance of my favorite serial psychopath, Cletus Cassidy. This is a great book. It's got, Cardiac in there. The first appearance of Cardiac, the first appearance of Cletus Cassidy, who later becomes Carnage, and my favorite mindless enforcer, the Rhino, in Spider-Man number 344. Next, we have a classic book in Marvel Premiere number 14, Iron Fist's first appearance. During the 70s, they started to, with all the blaxploitation movies and kung fu movies that came out, they started to come out with their martial arts superheroes, i.e. Iron Fist, Nick Cage, along the lines when Jim Kelly was making Black Belt Jones, Bruce Lee was making, Enter the Dragon, Return of the Dragon, Game of Death, and so on. This is when Marvel tried to optimize their profits and introduce kung fu and martial arts characters. As you can see, this guy is doing a Chuck Norris roundhouse kick to his face in this classic book of this really great superhero. Next is something that's really not focused on as far as comic book collecting. A lot of people have first appearances, but another big thing is the death of. This is the death of Elektra in Daredevil, The Man Without Fear, number 181. Here is when the Bullseye, Daredevil's nemesis, decides to impale Elektra with her own sai. Classic book. And speaking of Bullseye, in Daredevil number 131, this is his first Silver Age appearance over here, and this is when he first met him. Bullseye is deadly accurate, can turn anything into a throwing object to invoke a lethal force. So this is lethal, whatever. This is Bullseye's first appearance. I believe this is 1975. Now, another first appearance character in the Daredevil line, who I'm a huge fan of, is the Daredevil Man Without Fear, number 168, from 1980, the very first appearance of Elektra, who he actually had a romance with for a long time. Daredevil's romance is not always the most smooth going, but he met this assassin and fell in love with her. And this is her first appearance right here. Now, I said first Silver Age appearance of the Bullseye because Bullseye was introduced in a book much earlier than 1975. Right here in Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., number 15. This character right here was the original portrayal of Bullseye when he was hired to assassinate Nick Fury. So, technically, this is his first appearance of a character named Bullseye. It's a little bit different as opposed to the Bullseye they portrayed in modern comic books. He's a pretty badass character, even back in here. but now they just kind of, when they reintroduced him, kind of made him more lethal. But this is technically his first appearance. And finally, you think with all the Daredevil books, then I'm going to show you a Daredevil #1. No. Avengers #4. This is the very first Silver Age appearance of Captain America when he was thawed out in the Arctic, and his very first appearance was Captain America #1 from 1941 in the iconic cover of him slugging Adolf Hitler in the face. As much as I would love to have that book, I do not have that book. I would be independently wealthy if I did. This is that's why I said the first Silver Age appearance of Captain America. I was lucky enough to get this book through bending over backwards and doing triple sow cows, and unlike Nancy Kerrigan, I did not bust my ass in acquiring this, but I did have to go through loops and bounds. So this is the very first appearance of the Captain America, who, as you can see through previous reviews, he's definitely one of my favorite heroes. So that's going to be it for today, folks. This is Longshot 1982. Please sub me, and please comment. I'd love to know what you think of this review. You guys are amazing. Have a great day.